Welcome into the Commanders Report live show. I'm your host, Jack Sperry. Today we have a bunch of Commanders news and rumors to talk about as we get ready for this Week 5 matchup between the Commanders and the Los Angeles Chargers. Today we've got three awesome segments that we're going to be diving into here. First up, the latest Commanders news and rumors. We got some very good injury updates for the Washington Commanders today. Then we'll get into my in-depth preview, Commanders versus Chargers for Week 5. I'll let you guys know who I think wins this week's matchup. Then I'll get into the mailbag here to finish up today's show. So if you guys want to get your questions on the show today and you want to get on the mailbag, all you have to do is get down there in the live chat room and use hashtag Commanders, or you guys can super chat to guarantee your question gets on the show. So, for example, you go down there in the live chat room, you go hashtag Commanders, and then within the same comment right after that, put whatever question you have. So, for example, hashtag Commanders, will Washington beat the Chargers this weekend? Or whatever question that you have. If you have a question that you want to get on the show, you can get your question on the mailbag for free today when you use hashtag Commanders. And if you want to guarantee your question gets on the show today, you guys can send in a super chat of any dollar amount. Doesn't matter if it's $2, $5, $10, $20, or more. If you guys super chat, we'll make sure to get your question on the mailbag this afternoon. Make sure you guys get down there in the comment section, get those questions in. But Ponzi, let's bring you in here and let's talk a little bit here about Marshon Lattimore. Should they replace him before the trade deadline? Today, Coach Quinn took the podium and he was talking about how it's not really his fault and he's actually been playing pretty well. And I'm like, you can't gaslight us, Coach Q. I love Coach Q. I love Dan, but like, let's just be honest. He hasn't played well through the first 4 weeks of the season. He played okay versus the Raiders, but in 3 of the first 4 games, he has been hot garbage. Is it time to start thinking about replacing him?
I mean, I think really Dan Quinn really came up to the presser today just to try to get some confidence in Marshon. I mean, you don't want your coach going against you and going like, yeah, he's bad, he needs to step up. But like, let's face it, guys. Marshon Lattimore is easily the worst piece on this quarterback room, and it's pretty bad. It's a pretty bad quarterback room. But every time he gets burnt, he gets burnt, and not only that, he gets penalized for getting burnt. So It's just not been good. And we could talk about his PFF grades. They are very bad, one of the worst in the league. And honestly, I think it's time. You invested that draft capital in him, but I mean, it's not cutting out, man.
Yeah, it doesn't look like they're going to make any moves this week. It looks like Lattimore will get at least another week here to show what he can do against the Chargers. And I think we're gonna talk about in our preview today. I think what he does versus Keenan Allen and Quentin Johnston on the outside, it's going to be important. You can't let those guys get big plays, especially Johnston, because he has been the big play machine for that Chargers offense so far this year. If I'm the Commanders, and I'm going to keep going forward with Lattimore, he's got to step up eventually. All right, there's a certain point here where if he's not getting better and like he's a liability on this defense, you can cut him and save some cap space, and then use that cap space to go get a guy like Stephon Gilmore. How many years have I been saying, Dan Quinn, bring in Stephon Gilmore? He was so good in your defense in 2023 in Dallas. If you're looking for that veteran piece to play alongside Trey Amos, who has actually been quite a big bright spot, he's been the biggest bright spot in the secondary to start this year, Ponzi. That's the guy I would probably give a call to if you're going to replace Marshon Lattimore. So I get that this team invested a lot in him in terms of the trade capital and the draft capital they sent to the New Orleans Saints to get him last year. But yeah, man, it hasn't been good enough to this point, and it's got to get better. That's for damn sure. All right, make sure you guys like the stream if you haven't already. We got over 100 people in this chat room right now. I want to see who the real ones are down there in the comment section. If you've liked today's stream, there's only 16 people that have liked the stream so far. If you're one of those 16 people, type those me's and we will give you a shout out. Shout out to Jasmine Gray. Shout out to Chad. Shout out to Danny. Shout out to Leon. Shout out to Seneca. Shout out to NFL Prod. Shout out to DC Snake Eye. Shout out to Landon. Shout out to Nobo. Shout out to JPZ. Shout out to Aaron. Shout out to Landon, Danny, Landon, my lovely fiance Cassie Voth is in the chat. Everyone say hi. We got Hail Hogs Nation. We got Tyler Olson. We got William Clark, A.V. Schlee, No Dice. We've got Nobo again. We've got Kathy. We've got the Wizard Pyro. Keith McNeil is here. We got Braden Sink. We got Elsley. We got a good crew of Commanders fans ready to talk some ball here, Ponzi, so I'm not going to make you guys wait any longer, all right? Let's get into our first segment of the day, which is going to be the latest Commanders news and rumors, talking about some injury updates today that every Commanders fan should know heading into this week. And speaking of this week, I got my preview for Commanders versus Chargers in Los Angeles this Sunday, and then we've got our mailbag. So again, guys, hashtag Commanders to get your questions on the mailbag for free today. When you put hashtag Commanders in there, producer Ponzi can see your questions. If you don't put hashtag Commanders, we can't see your questions and we can't put it on the show. So if you want to be on the show, make sure you get your question in alongside hashtag Commanders. And with that, let's get into our first segment of the day, the latest news and rumors surrounding the Washington Commanders. Welcome into the Commanders Report. I'm your host, Jack Sperry. Today, the Commanders got a triple dose of great Commanders injury news. Dan Quinn took the podium earlier today and delivered some really good news to Commanders fans that I'm going to be reacting to on today's show. Now, before we get into the content today, make sure you guys click that subscribe button. It's 100% free to do so. We are currently the fastest growing and the largest Washington Commanders individually run news program anywhere on the YouTube platform. So for Commanders injury updates all season long, if you guys want to know who's in, who's out, all this different stuff, we make sure to get you guys multiple updates per week when we get them. So make sure you click that subscribe button to never miss a moment. So today, we'll start off with this. Jaden Daniels is officially back, which is terrific news. Coach Quinn said today that he has been fully cleared by the Commanders coaching staff, and he is going to be a full participant in practices all throughout the week in preparation for this team's game versus the Los Angeles Chargers. So that is terrific news, guys, and hopefully now this offense can really get rolling. And I think that Marcus Mariota did a pretty decent job the first 2 weeks. He wasn't perfect, but he is a backup quarterback. Jaden Daniels is your dynamic superstar franchise quarterback of the future, and getting him back is going to take this team to another level, or at least that's the hope and the expectation. A little bit of I don't want to say it was a slow start the first 2 weeks for Jaden, but maybe not, the rapid, amazing MVP caliber start to the season that maybe we were expecting from him. Then, of course, he sits out the last 2 weeks with that knee injury. It's going to be good to see him back out there, and the fact that he's been 100% cleared for full participation in practices this week tells me and gives me the expectation that he should be back all the way, and he should be back to playing like his normal self this Sunday. Then also some more terrific news here. It was great to see Sam Cosmi out at practice today. This is a photo of him at Commanders practice. Today was the first time that he has practiced with the team since last year before his ACL injury that he suffered in the playoffs. He's been working really hard to get back onto the practice field and get back onto the playing field. And Dan Quinn says that there's a chance that he could play this week. He's been his practice window has been open, so that means that he now has 21 days to be taken off of IR. So sometime within the next 3 weeks, I should say, Sam Cosmi is going to be coming off of IR. If I would have to guess right now, guys, I would say Cosmi probably doesn't play this week. There's a chance that he does, and he certainly has the opportunity to with that practice window being open for him. But I think more likely week 6 or week 7 is when he's going to officially make his return to the playing field. And even though Andrew Wiley, I have a lot of confidence in him as this team's starting right guard, while Cosmi continues to ramp up. Certainly Cosmi is one of the best offensive guards in football and will help take this offensive line to an even higher level once he's able to get back onto the field. And then we also got some updates on Terry McLaurin, Noah Brown, and John Bates today from head coach Dan Quinn. And the way that he described those guys is that they're trending upwards. Now McLaurin, with his hip and his quad injury there, whatever you guys want to call that kind of weird, mysterious injury, he did not practice today, or at least not during the media viewing portion of practice. So that's still a little bit of a concern. Noah Brown was working off to the side with trainers, and then John Bates was actually at practice today. So it certainly seems like Bates could be on his way back to playing this week. Noah Brown, we'll see how he progresses as the week goes on, and we'll see if Terry can participate in practice at some point this week as well. But I would say in decreasing order here, John Bates, Noah Brown, followed by Terry McLaurin in terms of their chances to play on Sunday. But man, if you can get Jaden Daniels and Terry McLaurin back this week, that would be massive in terms of this team's chances to pull off what, I think a lot of people would consider an upset versus the Los Angeles Chargers on the road, coming off a really bad loss to the Atlanta Falcons where your defense couldn't do much. If you can have this dynamic duo back on offense, that can really go a long way to get this offense and especially this passing attack going in the right direction. So true or false? Let me know down there in the comment section. Washington will finish the year with a top 5 offense. Is that true or false? Let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section. Type T for true or F for false. This will be the pinned comment on today's show. So YouTube's going to throw you an ad break here in just a couple of seconds. When that happens, take advantage of that time. But let me know if this statement is true or false. So now Coach Quinn also at today's press conference came to the defense of Marshon Lattimore today, essentially saying that he's playing better than what the narrative is around him right now, that some of it is schematic and why some of the issues that we've been seeing from him are not all on him. And he actually complimented him quite a bit in terms of the kind of player he is and the player that he expects him to be this season. But, stop trying to blow smoke up my ass here, Dan Quinn, okay? Let's just be honest here. Marshon Lattimore has not been good. In fact, he's been bad and really bad in 3 of the 4 games that this team has played. Now, Lattimore played pretty solidly against the Las Vegas Raiders, but that offense is frankly in shambles. Right now, they've lost 3 straight, and that offense has not looked good pretty much all season. So, Marshon is somebody that I'm hoping can turn it around. Obviously, this team invested a lot in him, so I really hope that investment pays off. But through the first month of the season, he's been one of the worst starting cornerbacks in the National Football League, especially for somebody of the name recognition and pedigree that he has. He's had a lot of injuries throughout his career, guys, and a lot of it is with the lower body. I'm starting to think that some of those injuries as he has gotten older now are starting to catch up with him. I really hope I'm wrong on that. I hope that he can turn it around and be the number 1 cornerback that this team expected him to be when they traded for him last year at the trade deadline. But I think we just have to be honest about what the film says right now, which is that Marshon Lattimore has not been playing well to this point in the season. And then Dan Graziano from ESPN said today that Washington is, quote-unquote, very happy with the running back committee that they have assembled here in Washington with, of course, Bill Krosky-Merritt, with Jeremy McNichols, and with Chris Rodriguez Jr. And it's easy to see why, because this run offense has actually been pretty darn good. It's been really the highlight of the Commanders' offense so far this year. And Graziano also said that Washington views Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt as the quote-unquote most capable of taking on a number 1 role down the line. And I think when you watch these games, guys, that becomes pretty evident. I think Jeremy McNichols and Chris Rodriguez Jr. are really good complementary pieces, but I do think as the season goes on, we're going to see more of Bill, and he's going to have more of a premier type of role in this offense as the season goes on. But to have the luxury of this committee here where you've got not 1, not 2, but 3 really quality running backs, that is something that this team can really lean on, and I'm really encouraged by what I'm seeing from the Commanders' run game this year. Last year, it was also pretty darn good. A lot of it, though, was because of Jaden Daniels, with the read options, and, the design quarterback run game was elevating this run game quite a bit in terms of yards per rush, success rate, EPA per play. But Jaden Daniels has only played in 2 games to this point. I know Marcus Mariota can run the football too, and so the quarterback run game is still an element of this offense. But right now, with the current assembly here of the quarterbacks and the running backs here in Washington, as well as the offensive line, you're currently sitting at 2nd in EPA per rush. You are top 5 in success rate. You're also 2nd in yards per rush and 2nd in yards per game. So this rushing offense has really been humming throughout the first 4 weeks of the NFL season. And really, at this point, it's the identity of the Washington Commanders offense at this point. Now that we're injecting Jaden Daniels back in there, Terry McLaurin will hopefully be returning to the lineup soon. Hopefully the passing game can allow this offense to be a little bit more balanced as the season goes on and make this offense even more dangerous by the time we get to playoff time. And God pray that this defense can turn it around, and definitely in terms of their passing defense. But there's some things that are really positive about this football team right now, and the rushing offense is certainly part of that. And honestly, the offensive line is a big part of the run game success as well. It's not just that Bill and Chris and Jeremy are this awesome and super talented running back trio. I think they're a bunch of really good backs, and I think Bill in particular is going to be a legit number 1 guy in this league. Then you've got some good complementary pieces at quarterback. But plain simply, guys, if the blocking scheme isn't working, these guys are not going to have run lanes to run through. And I've been really impressed, especially over the last 2 weeks, since Chris Paul took over at left guard with how efficient and how good this offensive line has been in terms of the run blocking. And that's not even giving credit to John Bates when he's been in there. And Ben Sinnott has been awesome as a run blocker as well. This has been a huge strength of this Washington Commanders team, and it's a big reason why I still have a lot of hope for the Washington Commanders heading into the rest of this season. So let me know what you guys think down there in the comments section. What is your confidence level in the Commanders offensive line this year? You got Laramie Tunsil at left tackle, Chris Paul at left guard. He's been a revelation. You got Tyler Biadasz at center. Right now you got Andrew Wiley, but it's soon going to be Sam Cosmi. And then you got Josh Connolly Jr. at right tackle. Put it on a scale of 1 to 10 for me down there in the comment section. Right now, I got to say, I'm probably at around an 8. All right, that's going to be it for today's edition of Commanders News and Rumors. We're going to have more Commanders coverage, getting you guys ready for this week's matchup versus the Los Angeles Chargers coming up later in the week. So make sure you guys click that subscribe button if you haven't already. Till next time, guys, hail to the Commanders. First segment in the books here, Mr. Ponzi. Coming up next, we've got our Week 5 preview versus the Los Angeles Chargers. We still got over 100 people watching live. Want to thank each and every one of you guys for stopping by today. Before we get into our preview, I do want to give you guys a little bit of a reminder here to get your questions in for the mailbag. We're going to be doing the mailbag right after this next segment. So if you haven't already, get your questions in. Ponzi, how are we looking with questions at this point?
Let me check. I know we had a couple supers. And
can they hear you?
We have 1, 2, 3. Yeah, they can hear me.
Okay, cool.
We have about 10, 15 questions.
Great. Okay, so that's a good start. If you guys have a question, though, that you haven't asked yet, but you want to get it on the mailbag, you guys can use hashtag Commanders or Super Chat to get on the show. Speaking of Super Chat, we got a $2 Super Chat coming in from Keith Watford. Keith, if you want to get a question using hashtags Commanders, down there in the live chat, Ponzi, make sure Keith's question gets in there if he puts one in there, okay?
Yeah, I got you.
Then we got a $20 super chat from my man, Eli, Hokies fan. Says if the Commanders get JD5 and Scary Terry back, can this team bounce back? Absolutely. Like Scary Terry and JD5, obviously these guys have a great connection together. They've only played 2 games so far this year, and obviously with Scary Terry's situation, not practicing all training camp, I think it's certainly affected their trust level and their kind of chemistry a little bit to start the season, but now they've had multiple weeks to practice with each other. And I know that both of them have had some injury stuff, and that's kind of stunted that growth even more. But I do think, by the time that this team needs to be playing their best football, when JD5 and Scary Terry need to have their connection down pat, I think they're going to have it down pat. I mean, when we're talking about December, January football there, where you got to be playing your best, I have every confidence that this duo here is going to get back to business, get back to doing what they do best, which is dominate football games.
That does remind me, Sperry, didn't Eli Hokies fan win our raffle on Sunday?
This Sunday?
Yeah, I believe so, right?
No, it wasn't this Sunday. It was somebody else.
I can't remember.
I think you're misremembering.
Okay.
So sorry to get your hopes up there, Eli. We can go check for you, and we'll let you know if you did win a raffle, but I don't think he did.
I thought we did because we had the first one didn't show up, and then it landed on Eli Hokies fan.
I don't think so. We can check the record. Eli, I'll let you know if you actually did win it, but I don't want to get your hopes up too high. But I appreciate the $20 super chat, my friend. All right, is that all the super chats for now?
All the ones that we have for now.
Great. All right, so let's get into our next segment here, our Week 5 preview. It's going to be a very fun matchup in LA this weekend, guys. The Commanders are going to be trying to avoid dipping below 500 here, and hopefully they can really get their season back on track here with a win over the Chargers. So without further ado here, let's get into our Week 5 preview versus the Los Angeles Chargers. Can't wait to share with you guys. We've got keys to victory. We've got a Justin Herbert scouting report. We've got a full injury report. We've got schematic breakdowns. We got it all coming up right here over the next about 20 minutes or so here on the Commanders Report. So settle in, guys. It's going to be a good one. Let's get into this Week 5 preview versus the Chargers. This week, the Washington Commanders travel to the City of Angels to take on Justin Herbert, Jim Harbaugh, and the Los Angeles Chargers here in Week 5 of their 2025 NFL season. Welcome into the Commanders Report preview. I'm your host, Jack Sperry. We're going to be going live for this ball game on Sunday afternoon. It is an afternoon game here, so we're going to be going live about an hour before the game begins, starting at 3:30 p.m. Eastern time is when we're going to be going live. This is what the thumbnail is going to look like, so you guys know what to look for. Our watch parties have been doing absolutely phenomenally through the first few weeks of the season, guys. I want to thank you guys all so much for all the support. Again, we're going to be going live here on Sunday, starting at 3:30 p.m. Eastern time. So if you want our live play-by-play coverage, pregame coverage, and of course post-game coverage of this ball game, make sure you click that subscribe button and join the Commanders Report family today. All right, so the Washington Commanders going to Inglewood, to SoFi Stadium, to take on the 3-1 Chargers to try and avoid dipping below 500 for the first time this season. And it's definitely an interesting matchup. Jaden Daniels, it's going to be the first time that he has ever played at SoFi Stadium in terms of his NFL career. He's from Los Angeles. You know, he's a big Dodger fan, all this different stuff. So this is a very significant game for Jaden Daniels to be able to go and play in LA. So let's go over the injury report here for this game. I mean, the ones that we know that are going to be out, and the names that you should know when it comes to the Chargers are Rashawn Slater, who's out for the season with a knee injury. Khalil Mack has an elbow issue. He's on IR. He can't play. And then Najee Harris is out for the season as well with an Achilles tear. So those are the starters that will for sure be out for the Los Angeles Chargers. But some injuries to watch for the Commanders and Chargers this week that are a bit more questionable. Sam Cosmi just opened up his practice window this week. Terry McLaurin, Noah Brown, and John Bates still trying to work their way back from their respective injuries. Joe Alt, keep in mind the new left tackle for the Los Angeles Chargers is doubtful to play with a high ankle sprain, but he's technically not out just yet at the time of me recording this video. Then Mekhi Becton is still dealing with concussion issues here. He's still in protocol. It's possible he gets cleared before Sunday, but keep that in mind. Another member of this Los Angeles Chargers offensive line dealing with an injury. And then when it comes to the Chargers' results so far this season, they started out hot, right? They went up against their AFC West opponents and beat every single one of them. They beat the Chiefs in Brazil, then they beat Las Vegas, then they beat the Bengals in a really, or not Bengals, the Broncos in a really close matchup there at home. And then you lose to the frickin' New York Giants and Jackson Dart a lot because that offensive line couldn't protect Justin Herbert. They couldn't run the football very effectively either, and they just didn't score a whole lot. They only scored 18 points in that ball game. So that certainly gives Commanders fans hope heading into this week with all those injuries on the offensive line for Los Angeles really still applying heading into this week. From a schematic standpoint, from a coaching standpoint, Jim Harbaugh is in his second season here in Los Angeles. As an NFL head coach, he has a career record of 58-26-1, so one of the best win percentages in the National Football League today. And then on the offensive side of the ball, Greg Roman runs kind of a new style for him. He's been more of a heavy personnel, run first style of offense throughout his career. This year, they're spreading things out a lot, and they're letting Justin Herbert air out the football. So, really big adjustment here from Greg Roman, but so far it's been pretty darn good. And then on the defensive side of the ball, they run a McDonald 4-2 style of defense, lots of two high safety shells, lots of rotating coverages pre-snap, lots of creative blitzes, and of course that's all manned up by Jesse Minter, their excellent defensive coordinator. You guys can take a look at the expected starting lineup here for the Chargers for this football game. You got Justin Herbert at quarterback, and then the offensive line, you guys can tell here, it's not looking fantastic. Austin Deculus is going to be playing left tackle for them if Joe Alt can't go. Then Zion Johnson is their starting left guard. Then you got Bradley Bozeman at center. Mekhi Becton, I would say he's probably more expected to play than not this week, but if he can't play, then it's going to be Jamari Salyer, another backup offensive lineman, and then Trey Pipkins is their starting right tackle. They got a really good wide receiver trio in Ladd McConkey, Keenan Allen, and Quentin Johnston. All these guys serve their role in this offense very, very well. They're very complementary of one another. Then you got Omarion Hampton, the rookie running back out of UNC, leading the way in the backfield. And then Tyler Conklin is their lead tight end right now. But in the offensive rotation, some guys that you guys should know about, like I was mentioning there, Jamari Salyer could play some left tackle if Mekhi Becton ends up playing. But if not, Jamari will definitely be playing right guard for them. Then Will Dissly is also dealing with an injury right now, but he will rotate in if he plays. And then Aronde Gadsden, another rookie tight end, receiving specialist out of Syracuse. He's had a really good start to his NFL career, so keep your eye on Gadsden as well. Then on the defensive side of the ball, the Chargers have Tui Tuipulotu as their number one edge rusher right now, while Khalil Mack is out with an elbow injury. Bud Dupree is the other starting edge for now. Then you got Tyler Tart, who's an excellent run-stuffing nose tackle type, playing defensive tackle, and then Deshaun Hand has been their other leading defensive tackle snap getter. But somebody to keep your eye on is another rookie for this Chargers team, Jamari Caldwell, a nose tackle type out of Oregon. He's had a really good start to his young career as well, and he's certainly getting into the rotation more and more as the weeks have gone on. So keep your eye on Jamari Caldwell. And really, if you have Caldwell out there and you have Tyler Tart out there at the same time, it's going to be tough to run the ball up the middle against this Chargers defense. Then on the inside, when it comes to the off-ball linebackers, Dian Henley, one of my favorite linebackers in all of football. I loved him coming out of Wazoo. He's one of my favorite linebacker prospects in the last several years. He has really shined in this Chargers defense. And then Troy Dye will be the other inside linebacker for the Chargers. Right now, Denzel Pearman can rotate in, but he is also dealing with an injury. Then we get to the secondary here, and you got Dante Jackson, who's currently their number one corner. He's had a really good season for them, playing in this kind of off-zone type of defense, a heavy man match style of defense. And then Tarheeb Still is their number two corner. I think that the Commanders could maybe take advantage of him on the outside. But then at safety, got Alohi Gilman, Elijah Molden, pretty decent safety duo. And then Derwin James is one of the best nickelbacks in the entire National Football League. They move him all over the place. He's a hell of a run defender. Got to know where Derwin James is on the field at all times. So still to come here on the Commanders Report, my keys to victory versus the Los Angeles Chargers. I got my scouting report on Justin Herbert, and then I've got my official Week 5 score prediction coming up later in the show here. But before we get into the rest of this week's preview, let's have a word from our sponsor here at Prize Picks. You and I, we both make decisions every single day. But on Prize Picks, being right with your decisions can actually get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this football season on Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. Football season is finally here, and you better believe I'll be getting my Prize Picks lineups in all season long. Prize Picks is simple to play. You just pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and if you get your picks right, you could cash in. Prize Picks also puts their users first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. Prize Picks also offers Venmo, Apple Pay, MasterCard, and more for quick and easy deposits into your account this football season. And a new feature from Prize Picks that I absolutely love is injury reboots. If one of your players leaves the game in the first half and doesn't return, Prize Picks will not count that as a loss. So you guys can take a look at my Prize Picks projection for this week's matchup between the Commanders and Chargers. I'm taking the more on passing yards for Justin Herbert against this really bad Commanders passing defense. I'm taking the more on Quentin Johnston receiving yards because I think he's going to toast Marshawn Lattimore at least once or twice. But I will take the more on receiving yards for Zach Ertz as well. So download the app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup on the Prize Picks app, which, by the way, is free to download. That's code CLNS on the free Prize Picks app to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. First key to victory for the Washington Commanders this week is to get after Justin Herbert. This is what the New York Giants did last week, and this is why they won the football game, all right? Justin Herbert is an awesome quarterback. I see him as a bona fide superstar. There's not a whole lot of downsides to his game. I went into the season ranking him 7th among quarterbacks. Honestly, if I'd have to redo that list, at this point, he might be in the top 5. He is an awesome quarterback that can mentally process a defense. He's got supreme arm talent. He can make plays out of structure. He's got good enough athleticism to run with the football if needed. He's got it all, man. He is an awesome quarterback, and the way that you can beat him is to get in his face a little bit. His pocket presence can be a little bit inconsistent. He can take some sacks at times. And if you can get after Justin Herbert, just like really any other quarterback, you can limit the impact that he can have on the game. So that has to happen. You have to get after him. That's what Brian Burns and the New York Giants were able to do last week, which is why they were able to hold this Chargers offense to just 18 points. And the good news for Commanders fans is that Washington's defensive line, has mostly been pretty darn good so far this season, all right? They also have shown some good things this year. I mean, they completely harassed Russell Wilson in week 1. They also did the same thing against Geno Smith in week 3. They have looked pretty darn good up front. Now, last week was a bit of a down week. They had some missed tackles in the front four there. That can't happen this week, but, this has been a group. Javon Kinlaw's been impressive through the first 4 weeks. Dorrance Armstrong is certainly breaking out here in year 2 in this Commanders defense. Daron Payne has looked really good as well. So, this unit can certainly get the job done, and if they can do it on Sunday, that's going to really help out this team's chances of winning on Sunday afternoon. Then we get to another thing here for a key to victory for the Commanders, which is to get more creative on defense. And I am specifically talking to Joe Witt Jr., the defensive coordinator here, all right? And there's a couple of specific ways that I want him to get more creative. I want to see him rotate coverages post-snap. I want to make Justin Herbert think a little bit after the snap, making him hold the football for just that half second longer. And then I want to play more games, stunts, and twists up front. Dan Quinn said it in his post-game press conference last week against Atlanta. We didn't stunt enough, and that really is a mainstay in this Dan Quinn, Joe Witt Jr. style of defense, and for some reason they just didn't really do it all that much against the Falcons. So, get these guys looping around each other, twisting, doing all this different stuff. Use Frankie Louvu and Bobby Wagner's excellent blitz threats. That's absolutely stuff that I want to see happen on Sunday, and I'm hoping Dan Quinn is driving that point home to Joe this week in meetings. Then we get to Marshawn Lattimore, and he needs to hold up this week, man. Quentin Johnston has been really explosive to this point in the season, and then Keenan Allen has been really good as a route runner and a technician getting open in the short and intermediate levels of the field. So, whoever they end up lining up against Lattimore, he needs to hold up better than he has in 3 of these first 4 games. I'm hoping we see something closer to the Lattimore we saw in week 3 versus the Las Vegas Raiders, as opposed to the Lattimore we saw versus Green Bay or against Atlanta last week. So really hoping Lattimore can bounce back. And another guy I'm hoping can turn it around is Frozone here, Mike Samerstill. He's going to be going up against one of the best slot wide receivers in the game in Ladd McConkey this week. And Ladd can absolutely embarrass you if you are not ready for that matchup. So Samerstill has all the talent in the world to be able to handle a guy like Ladd McConkey. We've seen Samerstill do some good things in this league, but he's had a really slow start to the year. If Mike Samerstill can have a bounce-back game this week, that'll give them a big advantage. Then we get to another thing here on defense, which I want to see this team rotate Jordan McGee on defense more. Right now, he's only had 12 defensive snaps so far this season, but his specialty is speed and it is pass coverage. All right, 2 things that Bobby Wagner simply doesn't have anymore. And we have seen Bobby Wagner in a true 3-down role here absolutely get toasted in the passing game. And listen, man, when it's 2nd down and long, when it's 3rd down and medium or long, and the opposing offense is probably going to pass the football, it just doesn't make sense to have Bobby Wagner out there unless he's going to blitz. And, I've seen way too much this year. The Commanders playing man coverage where Bobby Wagner's on a running back and the running back just runs right by him, and then the quarterback throws it to the running back and he's got a bunch of running room. It happened last week against Bijan Robinson. And also he's just getting absolutely obliterated in zone coverage as well, and he's just not fast enough to get to go sideline to sideline like he used to. So he's certainly regressing. I think that Jordan McGee, with his athleticism, with his ability to defend the pass, he's a pretty darn good zone defender. It just makes sense to kind of pass that torch and get Bobby Wagner off the field in those pass-heavy situations. Then on offense, establishing the run will be very important for the Washington Commanders this week, as it is all weeks for this team. Right now, they're doing an excellent job running the football. It's been the highlight of this offense this year. The O-line is blocking well. The tight ends are blocking well. The running backs are finding lanes to run through. It's been really good to start this season. Like I said earlier, guys, because of Tyre Tart and Jamari Caldwell on early downs, I would say you might have to run more off-tackle stuff than you have run over the last few weeks. You might want to dip a little bit more into the screen game, maybe get Deebo Samuel going a little bit on some jet sweeps or orbit motions. Get creative in that way. But you got to have success on the ground here if you want to win this ball game, in my opinion. But I think it's also important for Jaden Daniels, who will be playing in this game, by the way, to get the pass game rolling. All right, we've seen Jaden only play in 2 games this year, and it's not like the passing offense was absolutely lighting it up in those 2 football games, right? The last time we saw Jaden was against the Green Bay Packers, and I actually thought he played a pretty decent game in terms of decision-making, but this offense couldn't manufacture open receivers versus man coverage. So hopefully that's something that Cliff Kingsbury can do from a variety of different ways. You can do bunches and stacks. You can do pre-snap motion. You can do a lot of different things to get these wide receivers open for Jaden Daniels. And if I know anything about Jaden, if those receivers are open for him, he is going to hit them. And then also Jaden, with his ability to make plays out of structure, is an element that I think that this Commanders team has really missed over the last 2 weeks, even though Marcus Mariota certainly kept the ship afloat. Then the final thing here to secure a victory versus the Chargers is that I do think it's going to be somewhat close in the fourth quarter. The Commanders are on the road. The Chargers are a good team. But you got to make the play late, all right? Most games in the NFL, when it comes to the final 4 minutes of the game, there's usually a play to be made, and the team that has that big, impactful play, whether it's an interception, whether it's a game-winning drive, whether it's a big play on special teams, the play that is made in the fourth quarter is usually the thing that wins close ball games, and I think that this is going to be one of those ball games. So I think the Commanders are going to make that play. I'm going to pick them to win this week, 23-21. I think that whether it's a Jaden Daniels touchdown drive to finish the game, whether it's a last-second field goal, I just feel like, it's going to be a close game. The Commanders are going to have the football, and they're going to find a way to get the victory. So it's your turn. Let me know down there in the comment section. Predict the score of Commanders versus Chargers for me down there in the comment section. I've got 23-21 Commanders. Let me know your score prediction down there in the comment section. And make sure you guys click that subscribe button and join us here on the Commanders Report because we have in-depth previews for every single game that the Commanders play this year, absolutely free on our channel. We also have live watch parties, like I mentioned earlier in the show. We'll be going live at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time this week for the Charger game. And then, of course, we have post-game reaction shows for every single Commanders game as well this season. So make sure you click that subscribe button if you want the most extensive, in-depth Commanders coverage money can buy, 100% free during the 2025 NFL season. All right, Ponzi, we got one more segment to go here. I'm going to give the people in the chat 1 minute here. All right, 1 minute shot clock to get your questions in. And we already have enough questions for the mailbag, just so you guys know, but I want to give you guys another minute warning here to get your questions in if you haven't already. If there's a question that you want to get on the show, get it in right now by using hashtag Commanders down there in the live chat room. We've got about 100 people still watching live. If you have a question, make sure you guys use hashtag Commanders along with your question in the live chat to get a question on the mailbag for free today. All right, so you got a minute to get it in. And Ponzi, if you want to come up on screen, what do you think about this week's matchup against the Chargers? And what's kind of your inclination? Who do you think is going to win this ball game?
Now, just because Joe Alt is out, I feel like, their offensive line gets significantly worse.
Yeah.
So I really think that, the Commanders could really, take advantage of that offensive line. They played a sneaky good Atlanta Falcons offensive line. Like, the offensive line is pretty good. It's not a bad offensive line by any means. But this Chargers offensive line without Rashawn Slater and Joe Alt, significantly worse. Think they have serviceable guys there, but I think the Washington pass rush will get it done, and the Commanders will get a win this Sunday.
Absolutely. All right. I do have confidence in this group. I think Dorrance Armstrong, Javon Kinlaw, Daron Payne, they're going to bring the boom up front. I think that they will have a bounce-back week, which I think will make the secondary look better this week than it did last week against the Falcons. I think that with Jaden back in, you get kind of that dynamic playmaking back inside this offense. Hopefully Terry can get back and you can get back to him lighten up the scoreboard and all that stuff. And I think the run game will continue to do some good stuff this week. So I do think that the Commanders, I don't think it'll be a perfect game by any stretch, but I do think that the Commanders go into this week with a slight advantage, and I think they get a clutch victory on the road in a tough environment against a tough football team. So let's get into the mailbag here, guys. Thank you so much for getting your questions in. You guys always bring the best questions. So I can't wait to see what you got for me here today. So without further ado, let's get into the Week 5 Commanders Report mailbag right now. Welcome into the Commanders Report mailbag. I'm your host, Jack Sperry. Today, I'm answering your questions on the Burgundy and Gold as this team gears up to take on the Los Angeles Chargers in the City of Angels on Sunday afternoon. Now, before I get into the questions today, make sure you guys click that subscribe button to join the most interactive community for Commanders fans anywhere here on YouTube. We go live once a week on Wednesdays at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, where we give you guys the opportunity to get your voice on the show via this mailbag. But we also interact with the chat during the live show. We also go live for every single Commanders game where we interact with the chat. We react to the games together. We have the largest Commanders watch parties for Commanders fans anywhere on the YouTube platform right now, so make sure you click that subscribe button right now if you love the Commanders and you want to join an awesome community of Commanders fans that love the Burgundy and Gold. All right, so let's start here with Keith Watford, and he says, let him score Lattimore. Was my question originally. Definitely need to pick up a replacement. Thoughts? Obviously, the Commanders probably disagree, at least in terms of this week. Dan Quinn, at his weekly press conference, really doubled down on Marshawn Lattimore, says he believes in him, all this different stuff. But I see where you're coming from, Keith, man. Like, if it continues down this path and Marshawn Lattimore just can't get the job done, at some point you gotta look at some replacement options, especially with Jonathan Jones not available to you at this point. Could bringing in like a Stephon Gilmore make sense? He played in Dan Quinn's defense with the Cowboys back in 2023 and was awesome. All right, and he played with the Vikings last year, played a pretty decent role for them, helped them make the playoffs, I should say. He was a good portion of that Brian Flores defense. So he's still available as a free agent. I'm sure he would love to play for Dan Quinn again. Joe Witt Jr. was his DB coach in Dallas in 2023. So that just seems like a fit that makes a lot of sense to me. And when it comes to the guys on the market, that makes the most sense. But also Tyreek Woolen is apparently going to be available via trade before the trade deadline this year. He schematically and his play style kind of fits the physical style of play that the Commanders want from the role that Marshawn Lattimore currently plays. So it's going to be interesting to see if Lattimore can bounce back. It sounds like the Commanders are not done with him just yet, but if we get closer to the trade deadline and he's still not playing well, I certainly think it's in the cards that this team could add another corner. Then we got one from Tyler Olson here. It says, what do you rate all the moves Adam Peters has made since the start of the offseason? Well, if I rated all of them since the beginning of the offseason, Tyler, that would be an entire video. It's actually a pretty decent idea for a video. But like just going over the big ones, I thought the Laramie Tunsil trade has worked out to this point. Laramie's been pretty darn solid, especially as a pass protector. Might still be the best pass protecting left tackle in all of football. I loved, we'll still see on Josh Conley Jr. as the first-round pick. I think the Trey Amos pick in the draft was excellent. I thought that the pick to get Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt in round 7 was excellent. Jalen Lane looks like a future stud, at least as a punt returner, so that was nice to get him. And then, Deebo Samuel trade, I think that was an awesome addition for just a 5th-round pick. Deebo has been I'm not going to – do I want to say most impactful offensive player? I mean, he kind of has been at this point. He's been really, really good. He's certainly been the best receiver for the Commanders at this point. And then, bringing in Jonathan Jones was a good move, but he's not available. And then Javon Kinlaw seems to be working out as well. So if I have to give a grade, Tyler, for the moves that Adam Peters made this offseason, he got the Terry McLaurin deal done as well. I'd probably give it a B or a B+ at this point. I think a lot of the moves that he made worked. And I think a lot of the issues that we're seeing right now are with players that were already on the roster that they were expecting to take a step forward, but they're taking a step backwards. Guys like Marshawn Lattimore, Quan Martin, Mike Samerstill, Bobby Wagner. All right, there's a lot of players on defense that were expected to take a step forward that are taking a step back. And then, unfortunately, there's just not enough receiver talent right now to be able to bomb the ball down the field with the passing game like they did last year. So there's certainly problems with this team. Adam Peters is not completely absolved of the issues that the team is facing, but I do think he made quite a few good moves. So I'd probably give his offseason right now a B. So let me know down there in the comment section, should the Commanders sign Stephon Gilmore, an NFL free agency, to replace Marshawn Lattimore? Give me a yes or a no down there in the comment section. This will be the pinned question on today's show. YouTube's going to throw you an ad break here in just a couple of seconds, and when that happens, take advantage of that time. But let me know if you think the Commanders should sign Stephon Gilmore. Then we got one from Eli Hokies fan, $20 super chat. I appreciate your support, Eli. Says if the Commanders get JD5 and Scary Terry back, can this team bounce back? 100%. There's a lot of things to like about this Commanders team right now, even though, the passing defense doesn't look good, and then honestly, the passing offense, like the passing game overall, both sides of the ball, is the issue with this team. But something that's very encouraging is that they're kind of winning the trenches on both sides of the ball. The defensive line has been the best part of this Commanders defense so far this year. Javon Kinlaw's balling out. Dorrance Armstrong's balling out. Deron Payne's balling out. Like, that defensive line looks pretty darn good. And then on the offensive side of the ball, they're running the ball just about as well as any team in the league right now, all right? And that is without Brian Robinson Jr., that is without Austin Eckler, that's with kind of a hodgepodge of different running backs and even different quarterbacks. So the offensive line, the tight ends have been blocking their butts off. The Commanders can win the trenches, and when you can win in the trenches in the NFL, you always have a chance. So if they can get better in the passing defense and in the passing offense as the season goes on, this Commanders team can still do a lot of damage by the time we get to January. Then we got one from, again, Eli Hokies fan, a $5 super chat, says if the Commanders sign Odell Beckham Jr., can it make the offense overpowered? I don't think so. They had the opportunity to go get Odell Beckham Jr., and they brought in Robbie Chosen instead. So I don't think necessarily Odell wants to come here because I think he wants an opportunity to play. And if he comes here, he would be at best in a rotational role. This team likes Terry McLaurin. They like Noah Brown. And by the time Odell could get ramped up and ready to play for this team, those guys will be back from injury, and he won't have an opportunity to really be a full-time starter anymore. So Odell is also somebody that's getting older. He's not as explosive as he once was as an athlete. He can still catch the football. He's still a good route-running technician. He's not completely useless, but he's more of like a wide receiver 4 type at this point in his career than the number 1 receiver and the superstar that he used to be. Then we got one from Landon, says, will Jaden Daniels be playing on Sunday? Yes, he will be. He will be out there. He's a full participant in practice today. I'm filming this on Wednesday, by the way. So he's going to be a full participant all throughout the week, and he's going to be good to go. He's probably going to be wearing a brace, so there's a question as to just how mobile he's going to be on Sunday. But apparently he's been 100% cleared by the Commanders coaching staff, and he is ready to go for Sunday afternoon. Before we get into the rest of your questions here on the Commanders Report mailbag, let's have a word from our sponsor here at Prize Picks. You and I, we both make decisions every single day, but not all those decisions get you paid. Well, on the Prize Picks app that you can download for free on your phone right now, if you get decisions right on Prize Picks, you can actually get paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this season on Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. Football season is finally here, and you better believe I'll be getting my Prize Picks lineups in all season long. Prize Picks is simple to play. You just pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and if you get your picks right, you could cash in. Prize Picks also puts their users first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. Prize Picks also offers Venmo, Apple Pay, MasterCard, and more for quick and easy deposits into your account this football season. And a new feature from Prize Picks that is new this year that I absolutely love is injury reboots. There's nothing worse than putting in a play on somebody and then they get injured in the first half and then you lose your play because of that. But if one of your players on Prize Picks leaves the game in the first half with an injury and doesn't return, Prize Picks will not count it as a loss, which is a phenomenal new thing that they've added to their platform, in my opinion. You guys can take a look at my projections for Commanders versus Chargers this weekend. I'm taking the more on passing yards for Justin Herbert, the more on Quentin Johnston receiving yards, and the more on Zach Ertz receiving yards as well. So download the app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup on the Prize Picks app today. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. $5 from Light says put Lattimore at safety since he's getting older. Put Mikey on the outside. The defense is bad due to our scheme. Please sign Tyler Boyd and GJ, I should say. So that's CJ Gardner-Johnson. Listen, man, I don't know if Marshawn would be able to play safety, if I'm being completely honest. Now, sometimes corners can turn into safeties later in their career when they lose a little bit of athletic juice. Maybe Lattimore's that type of guy. I don't know. But I would just address that position with CJ Gardner-Johnson. I like that idea, Light, because you better believe CJ would love to play the Philadelphia Eagles twice this year. And also, he's a bigger type of safety that can play in the slot. That was a big reason why they liked Will Harris, is because he could play in the slot. CJ can do that, but he's also bigger than Will Harris is and more physical, so he'd be a better run support player as a strong safety in this defense. So I really like the idea of getting CJ Gardner-Johnson. Tyler Boyd, he's cooked at this point, unfortunately. He was never more than a wide receiver 3. And honestly, last year, he was a complete non-factor when he was on the field. So there's a reason why no one has even really brought him in for a workout to this point, even during the offseason, is because his film from last season is so bad. And he's just so slow at this point in his NFL journey. So I think Tyler Boyd is done. But they did bring in Robbie Chosen, who does have some speed and quickness left in the tank. So I'm excited to see what Robbie Chosen is able to do here over the next few weeks as he gets ramped up. Because I was watching his film during the preseason with the 49ers. The guy can still move. So, keep that in mind. So make sure you click that thumbs up icon if you haven't already. If you are a Commanders Report real one, if you love the Commanders and you love our channel, you want to help us out, the best way to do that is to click that thumbs up icon. It takes a half second of your time. And it tells the YouTube algorithm that you enjoy our content, you want to see more of it, and that they should push this content out to more Commanders fans like yourselves. So if you want to help out the channel today, click that thumbs up icon. With that, let's get the rest of your questions here today. Tyler coming in says, how and when will our team get younger? This old team is a problem. Yeah, man, the age issue is certainly coming up. You got Marshawn Lattimore, who is aging, and he's looking like he is regressing physically. Then you got Bobby Wagner, who might be the slowest inside linebacker that's currently starting in the NFL. All right, it really is that bad. All right, Mike Samerstil is not the fastest guy in the world. That's why people thought he was going to have to play slot corner in the league, is because he's not the fastest guy in the world, right? So, and then Jeremy Reeves, not the fastest guy in the world either. So, this team is filled with guys that aren't really fast, especially in the secondary. And even Trey Amos is not the fastest guy in the world. He's good in coverage, but he's not like a speedster, right? So this is a pretty slow defense at this point in the season. And honestly, a good way to interject some youth and some speed in this group is to put Jordan McGee out there at inside linebacker and rotate him in on passing downs, because he is known as a pass coverage linebacker. That's what he was known for at Temple. And he's really fast. So if you need somebody out there that can get sideline to sideline, cover the zones, all that stuff that Bobby Wagner, frankly, just can't do at this point with his athletic profile, I think it would be a big godsend here for this Commanders defense to put some speed and some youth out there by giving Jordan McGee some more run. Then we got another question here from Tyler. Some good questions from Tyler today. It says, how many weeks till the Commanders start firing on all cylinders like last season? Hopefully it's soon, man. I think that question comes down to if and when this passing defense can get better, if they can make the proper adjustments that they need to make, with taking Bobby Wagner off, getting a legitimate strong safety, hopefully finding a solution at number 2 outside corner, not to mention slot corner. Hopefully those guys can step up. But then also, how long does it take for Jaden Daniels and Terry McLaurin to get back to where they were last year in terms of the chemistry, in terms of the connection? Because it was clearly not there the first 2 weeks because Terry was missing most of training camp. And believe it or not, even if with guys that have played together before, you need that time in training camp to develop that connection again before the season. 1 week of practice is not enough to get on the same page. So they both dealt with some injuries here. So they've only had about a 3-4 week period where they've actually practiced together. So hopefully it comes together here soon. Hopefully it's this week against the Chargers. But once those two things happen, once Terry McLaurin and Jaden Daniels get going, and once the passing defense can get back to playing some decent football, that's when I think this team begins firing on all cylinders. So what say you guys? Let me know down there in the comment section. What moves, if any, do you want the Washington Commanders to make before the NFL trade deadline? Do you want them to sign Stephon Gilmore or CJ Gardner-Johnson? Do you want them to trade for a player of any variety? Would you sign Deontay Johnson as a wide receiver? What move are you making if you are Adam Peters before the trade deadline? Let me know what you guys think down there in the comments section. That'll be it for this week's mailbag. Thank you for all the great questions that you guys submitted this week. You guys always bring the heat. Make sure you click that subscribe button if you haven't already. We are going to be going live for Commanders versus Chargers Sunday afternoon, 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time, about an hour before we kick things off in Inglewood. So make sure you guys click that subscribe button if you haven't already for the most extensive Commanders coverage anywhere here on YouTube. All right, Ponzi. So that is it for our cuts today. I will say we'll probably get out of here. Ponzi, it's going to be an interesting week for sure. I'm really hoping that Dan Quinn and Joe Witt Jr. can figure it out on defense and try to figure out how to make the proper adjustments to get this passing, specifically the coverage. The coverage on the back end in the passing game is the issue with this defense. Up front, it's pretty good. Okay, they can put pressure on the quarterback. They can stop the run pretty effectively. That's not the issue. The issue is they're giving up way too many explosive plays in the passing game, and it's killing this team. And then on offense, you don't have enough dynamic weapons at receiver to be able to get teams out of playing man coverage. And if you have a good man coverage team and they can lock up your receivers, there's not going to be a whole lot of open receivers to throw to. So those are kind of the two big issues facing this football team right now. But there is reason to hope. You have two units along the trenches that are playing good football. The offensive line is blocking their butt off. The defensive line is doing their thing. That sets a good foundation for this football team. So if the Commanders can find a way to get more dynamic in the passing game, getting Jaden Daniels and Terry McLaurin back should help that. And then if you can find a way to fix the coverage issues on defense, I suggested using Jordan McGee out there in passing situations. Maybe you can experiment about, maybe benching Marshawn Lattimore, putting Meg Samerschel back on the outside, play more off coverage, do more rotation, post-snap rotations, maybe sign C.J. Gardner-Johnson. I don't know exactly what that formula looks like. I know what some possibilities look like, but that is going to be a big X factor in terms of just how successful this Steelers or this Commanders team can be this year.
I mean, I really think that, I truly believe with the Ron Rivera regime back in 2020 to 2020, was it 2 or 3, really set this team back because they had to make that move for Lattimore to solidify quarterback when they tried to draft and tried to get these players to develop, and Dan Quinn just clean house. So, I mean, it's kind of hard with the secondary to really fully put the blame on Dan Quinn and on the defense of, Joe Witt Jr. So, I mean, it's going to be, to address some of the questions of, how does this team get younger? It's just because, they missed so much in the draft classes in that regime. And so I think that, it's going to be hard to figure out what to do and what signings to make before this end season, because making in-season adjustments in terms of roster can go terrible. We saw it with Marshawn Lattimore himself. I mean, he was getting cooked. So, I mean, it's hard, but I think that they'll find a way to get it all figured out.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, that's going to do it for us today here, guys. Thank you so much for joining us for this edition of the Commanders Report live show. Next time we'll be live is Sunday, 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time, an hour before kickoff. For our live coverage of Commanders versus Chargers in a big football game for this football team. All right, so we'll see you guys then. And until next time, hail to the Commanders.